You ever see a product that's a total no-brainer? I mean, it's safer, it's faster, it's cheaper. It should be an absolute guaranteed winner. But then, it just doesn't sell. Today, we're diving into a fascinating business mystery about a revolutionary piece of equipment that, by all logic, should have flown off the shelves, but instead, well, it just collected dust. It's a story that reveals a really powerful truth about what customers actually buy.
You can just feel the frustration in that, right? That's Dr. Laura Araneta, the president of a company called Vic Progressive Diamond Drilling, or VPDD for short. She's talking about their brilliant new product, SkyTrack, and she has completely hit a wall. Think about that. Even cutting the price in half wouldn't work. So, what on earth is going on here?
This is the big question, isn't it? How can something that is objectively better in pretty much every way you can measure just completely flop? It's a puzzle, and it goes way beyond just this one company. It really gets to the heart of how we think about value. All right, let's pull back the curtain on this thing. We're calling it the $1 million flop, and you're about to see why. So, meet SkyTrack. It was developed by VPDD, a Canadian company that works with the mining industry. And on paper, oh man, on paper, this machine was an absolute game changer. So to really get why SkyTrack seemed like such a sure thing, you gotta picture the old way of doing this. For remote mining exploration, just moving heavy equipment from one drill site to another is this huge, painful process. It's usually done with helicopters, right? Which are crazy expensive, kind of dangerous, and totally dependent on the weather. SkyTrack solved all of that. It's a ground-based carrier, it can go over any terrain, it saves a ton of time, and it saves a ton of money. It was, the perfect solution.
And here we have our first clue in the mystery, the price tag. $225,000. Now that is a serious chunk of change for sure. But given the savings it promised, the company was convinced the math would just speak for itself.
But the math didn't speak. After 2 full years of pushing this incredible product, VPDD had sold exactly 0. Zilch. Nada. They did manage to lease one out, but that was it. Their surefire winner was a total commercial failure. The plot thickens.
Okay, to solve this thing, we have to change our point of view. Let's stop looking at the product for a second and start looking at the customer. What was going on in their world that made what seems like a totally logical choice completely impossible?
I mean, look, the company had the numbers to prove SkyTrack's value. This chart just lays it all out. With SkyTrack, the hourly cost drops significantly. The time it takes to prep each drill hole goes down by 10 hours, and a crew could drill 31 times more holes in a single season. The return on investment was, it was undeniable.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the other side of the story. While VPDD was busy building this amazing cost-saving machine, their customers, the mining companies, were in absolute freefall. Global mineral prices were crashing, and the whole industry's revenue was just drying up. They weren't just looking to save money, they were literally fighting to survive. And boom, there it is. That's the heart of the whole problem. VPD was selling a long-term investment to customers who were completely stuck in a short-term cash crisis. The logic was perfect, but the timing was just awful. They desperately needed the savings SkyTrack offered, but they simply did not have $225,000 in the bank to spend.
So how do you fix a disconnect like that? Well, it takes a totally different way of thinking. This is where we get into our toolkit, and tool number 1 is all about redefining the value proposition. It means you stop talking about what your product does, and you start a new conversation about what actually matters to your customer, right now.
Yeah, a value proposition isn't just some marketing slogan. It's your core promise to the customer. From their point of view, it has to answer one simple question. Why should I pick you over everyone else? And the most critical part of that promise is zeroing in on what they value most.
So most companies do what's on the left here, the all-benefits approach. They just throw every single feature at the wall, hoping something sticks. But the much smarter approach is what's called resonating focus. Instead of asking, why buy our stuff, it forces you to ask a better question. What is the single most important thing for you to remember about what we offer? It makes you find the customer's number 1 most urgent problem.
So let's apply that right here. For a mining company that is bleeding cash, what's their most urgent priority? Is it some long-term operational efficiency plan? Or is it, how do we survive the next 3 months without going out of business? The answer to that question changes absolutely everything.
Now remember that one little success story, that single lease? Well, it turns out that wasn't a failure at all. It was the key to everything. That lease is our second tool,
We have to stop seeing it as a failed sale and start seeing it as a strategic listening device, a perfect example of what's called a user contribution system.
Now, this sounds a little academic, but the idea is actually super simple. A user contribution system is just a way for you to learn from your customers while they're actually using your product. Every piece of feedback they give, every problem they solve with it, that's all data that helps you get better. Your customers basically become part of your R&D team.
So here's the crucial point. That one lease was never just a rental agreement. It was a goldmine of information. It let VPD get real-world feedback, see how people actually use the machine, and, this is huge, it let the customer treat the cost as a monthly operating expense, not a giant capital investment. This was their path to finally understanding their customers' real problems.
Okay, so we've got our two tools, the resonating focus value proposition and the user contribution model. So let's put them together. Let's build a new strategy for the supposedly unsellable SkyTrack.
And here it is, the big aha moment. VPDD didn't have a product problem, they had a proposition problem. They didn't need to change the machine, they needed to change the message. And they needed to change the deal itself. They were selling a product when they should have been selling a solution to an immediate financial crisis.
And here is the new game plan, plain and simple. Step 1, reframe the entire offer. Lead with leasing to get that massive price tag out of the way. Step 2, use every single lease as a research project. That's your user contribution. Find out what really matters to them. Is it the safety, the speed? And then, step 3, armed with that knowledge, sell the real solution, the thing they desperately need right now, which is immediate cash flow improvement.
And you know, the best part is, Dr. Araneta was already heading in this direction. You can see from her own words, she knew they needed a new way to talk about value. She just needed the framework to connect her product's amazing features to her customers' most painful, most urgent problems.
And that really leaves us with one big question to take away from all this. Whether you're selling software, or a service, or a giant piece of mining equipment, it's so easy to fall in love with what your product can do. But customers don't buy what it does. They buy what it does for them. So the question for all of us is, are you just listing features, or are you solving your customer's most urgent problem?